Hello! Right everybody, it's Will here from Formula Nerds, and today's video is a bit of a contentious issue. You see, I want to ask the question, why do people hate Lewis Hamilton? For the last 3 or 4 years, I've been quietly aware that the F1 community has been very divided over whether or not they like Lewis Hamilton. Now, when I say like, I mean in a kind of he's so good, he's annoying way, not so much in a Lance Stroll kind of he's just annoying way. So why have some fans taken such a dislike to a 6-time world champion? Well, to tell the truth, I've sort of answered my own question. Hamilton's dominance over the last few years and total command of the sport has left many fans disgruntled and annoyed at the lack of competition and excitement. Wait, that sounds familiar. Anyway, only the other day I was stood outside a chippy, a place that you'll find me on most Fridays, and I noticed a man with a MotoGP tattoo. We struck up a brief conversation about racing, and he told me how much F1 had meant to him 10 years ago, but that the Mercedes success of recent years had put him off completely. And initially I didn't really think much more about this, but then it began to play on my mind. You see, I've spoken to quite a few fans recently and had very passionate debates on Facebook groups, and I've come to the conclusion that this opinion really isn't an anomaly. The fact is that when one team happens to have an unbeatable car, team and factory, then the continued victories become almost a predetermined fact and makes the sport far less unpredictable. Famous examples of this include Red Bull's reign from 2010 to 2014, when Sebastian Vettel was not thought of as the kind, generous and considerate driver, partly due to Multi-21, but rather as the lucky sod who found himself in the right team at the right time. Now, while it's vital to recognise the hard work that teams put in, there is no point having this debate if we then proceed to forget that it is the skill, talent and dedication of the driver that combines all of those complex elements into one visceral, enrapturing performance on race day. Now, recently Lewis has had an admittedly incredible team and car, but let's not forget that he's put in years and years of hard work to sharpen his skills, learn from his mistakes and to try and prove others wrong. However, this isn't just my opinion. Here, take a listen to a short segment from our podcast, Cut to the Race, with guests Emma Butterworth, our writer, Ollie, our founder, and Johnny, the guy behind our website, as they briefly mention exactly why they too are impressed and, in some cases, enraptured with Lewis's driving.
From 2007 till now, what he's achieved. And do you know what? He's had good cars, whatever, but you don't do these things unless you are a special human being, right? You don't achieve these things.
I watch Lewis Hamilton drive not because of his fashion line or because he made a record with Christina Aguilera. I watch him because he's a bloody good racer. He does it with such skill, great racecraft. There has not been another driver like him in this generation at all.
Lewis is from some parallel Avengers universe and is just mind-bogglingly good.
Now, one of the gripes that I see online a lot that Lewis haters have is with the way that he uses his fame and celebrity status to shine a light on his personal beliefs. Now, to clarify, I'm not talking about his admirable activism on Black Lives Matter, as the majority of the community seems to agree with this message, and most normal thinking people at least can understand how important a cause this is. What I mean is his well-known stance on meat. Did he mention he's a vegan? You see, many of F1's most ardent fans are deep down aware of the environmental impact that flying and transporting a whole motorsport around the globe causes. So when they see Hamilton using Instagram to try and promote eating a meat-free diet to save the planet, it can seem pretty hypocritical considering some of the companies he promotes through the sport. Namely one of Mercedes' largest sponsors being Petronas and also Ineos, a company that manufactures industrial plastics. Not really a great look for the young Brit. Now, to tell the truth, I used to get a bit annoyed as well when he came over all preachy on Instagram, etc. But should we really be so quick to judge? Let's be honest, the man is using his influence to speak out on the causes he believes in and that matter to him. And, after all, he has every right to do so. We, the fans, are the ones who put him and other drivers on the grid in the limelight. So why are we getting so angry when Lewis decides to use that platform for a better purpose? And frankly, if we had a grid of drivers that only spoke about races and cars, we'd basically have a grid of Kimmies, which, as fun as it might be, would get pretty dull pretty quickly. Now, the final point that I see being debated online by various fans is that any other Carlos Sainz or Romain Grosjean, well, maybe not any other Grosjean, but any other driver could win titles in this year's Mercedes, a point that has some clout behind it given the success of Lewis's teammate Valtteri Bottas, who, while no slouch and a consistent driver, is not arguably much better than Daniel Ricciardo or even Sebastian Vettel. In a better car, admittedly, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But personally, I don't hold much faith in that idea. Hamilton may not be the best driver of all time. He does seem to lack some of the reserved, more bubbling rage of the likes of Senna or Lauda. But if pure personality was the criteria for F1 drivers, we would be watching people like Stephen Fry or Sir David Attenborough race around Silverstone instead. Actually, that does sound like a lot of fun. Now, I'm still not a fan of his. Personally, I prefer McLaren and the other underdog teams. But one thing is for certain. After all of those years of dedication, blood, sweat, tears and victory, Lewis Hamilton quite rightly deserves to be held up as one of the greatest names in Formula One. And, in the words of our very own Emma Butterworth, ultimately, as a bloody good racer.